Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So today, we're going to talk about the supply chain. We're going to talk about the supply chain, what it is, why it's stressed, whether or not it has snapped. We're going to go over the alternatives, what people are proposing as a solution to the issue we're currently facing, and we're going to talk about whether or not it makes sense. And we're just going to kind of run through it all. First, before we get into that, think about this. If you were to ask people 5 years ago what the supply chain was, how many of them do you think would be able to answer it? How many of them do you think would be able to give you even a rough definition or understand how far it's spread all over the world? Okay, so what is a supply chain? It is the route that turns raw materials into finished products and then to their final destination. Easiest way to say it is the route from production to consumption, right? Why are we talking about it all of a sudden? Because it's disrupted. It got stressed. It hasn't really snapped. People are saying it that way. A little bit of hyperbole going on. Our supply chain is not broken. It has not snapped. People are just saying that because they may not be able to get the, PlayStation 72 for Christmas, and there are some instances where there are shortages in places. But the supply chain is stressed, not snapped. What stressed it? A worldwide public health issue that took out 5 million people, and according to the IMF, is going to cost about $28 trillion. It's a pretty big issue. Okay, so that's what it took to stress it. What's the solution being proposed? An America First supply chain. We're going to make everything here. We're going to do it all here. Okay? Would that actually alleviate the issue caused by a worldwide public health issue of that scope? No. It's not going to solve the problem. You're still going to have those issues. Doesn't change a thing. But what else might shut it down if it becomes centralized? If it becomes localized to the United States? If there isn't redundancy like everywhere? A blizzard, a flood, a hurricane, earthquake, pretty much anything. It's not a solution. It actually takes a system that is working pretty well and makes it vulnerable. It's just a talking point by politicians who are trying to prey on people's ignorance, for lack of a better word. A supply chain in the United States that exists solely within the United States is concentrated. That means anytime there is a disruption from any of those things that I mentioned or a whole giant list of other things, it would have issues. The only place in the United States where you have a climate that is pretty consistent, where you wouldn't have these issues, is in the southwestern United States, where there's no water, which would make it really hard to have production centered there because you wouldn't be able to have any more cities. It's stressed as it is. This talking point is designed for people who do not understand the way things move around and how easily things are disrupted, which is funny because most of the America First crowd likes to fashion themselves or portray themselves as some kind of great military mind. If you are in a conflict, what do you want to cut? Supply routes, right? And how is it easiest? When it's centralized. When there are certain points that it has to pass, right? Like a bridge. We've all seen the World War II movies about taking out bridges, right? It's the same thing. Centralizing it within the United States does not make it safer. It does not make it more resilient. It makes it weaker. This is just a way for politicians to kind of play into the idea that America is exceptional. We can do all of this on our own. We don't need the entire world to provide supplies. They're wrong. They are wrong. The reality is that our global supply chain has existed for quite some time, and the reason people are just now learning the term is because this is kind of the biggest interruption that's ever occurred in it since it has entered its modern phase. And localizing it within the United States wouldn't stop that. It's a made-up talking point. It's something that, one, they won't be able to do anyway, and two, if they were successful in doing it, it would be more vulnerable, not less. It's politicians preying on the ignorance of their base. That's the drive behind an America First supply chain. Things are normally more secure if they are decentralized. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.